So my name is Joshua Park, and welcome to the seventh grade lesson 4 video. So let's just jump right into it. Number 1 states the quantities in the table above are in a proportional relationship. How many cells does a bear paw have? Be sure to show your work. So I assume that it's asking us for the ratio of claws to bear paws. So we already have two ratios here, 40 to 8. So 40 claws to 8 bear paws. We also have another ratio here, 100 claws to 20 bear paws. So if we simplify both of these ratios, 8 divided by 40, so 8 goes into 45 times, and 20 divided by 100, 20 goes into 105 times. We will find that the ratio of claws to bear paws is going to be 5 to 1. So it's just going to be equal to C. And so number 2, referring to the table above, fill the missing value in the first row. So this one in the first row. So we already have the ratio of claws to bear paws. And so we are given the number of claws already. We just need to find out the number of bear paws. And so the ratio for claws to bear paws is going to remain constant for um, each column. So we have 5 claws here and to 1 bear paw. And I'm representing this as a fraction. And we have 15 claws as a numerator here. And we will denote bear paws as x, as we do not have that value yet. So using the method of cross multiplication, we will see that 5 times x is equal to 5x, and 1 times 15 equals 15. And we are trying to look for x, which is the missing value. So to isolate x, we have got to divide 5 from both sides. So 5 and 5 cancel out, and 15 over 5 is going to be equal to 3. So the missing value is 3 bear paws. And this makes sense because 15 claws is proportional to 5 claws to 1 bear paw. Both of them are going to be equal to 5. So number 3, fill in the missing value in the second row of the table. So this one, we are given the number of bear paws, but we're not given the number of claws. Whereas number 2, we were given the number of claws, but not the number of bear paws. So we can just go through this process again of cross multiplying. So we have the ratio laid out here. So 5 claws to 1 bear paw. And so this unknown fraction should be equal to this ratio. So we have 15 on the bottom to represent the number of bear paws, and we are looking for the number of claws, which is represented by this x. So again, cross multiplying. 15 times 5 and 1 times x. So 1 times x is just going to be equal to x. And for 15 times 5, we can just quickly multiply that here. So 5 times 5 is going to be equal to 25. So we put the 5 here and carry the 2 up here. And then we can multiply 5 to this value. So 5 times 1 plus the 2 we carried over from the last step. And this will result in the value of 7. So 15 times 5 is going to be equal to 75. And because x does not have a leading coefficient, it's just 1x, no further simplifying needs to be done, and 75 just equals to x. So 75 is the answer, D. So number 4, 3 clovers have 9 petals and 5 clovers have 15 petals. How many petals does a clover have? Be sure to show your work. So we have 9 petals to 3 clovers. So let's put P over C. Clovers will, C will represent clovers, and P will represent petals. So we have 9 petals over 3 clovers, and we also have 15 petals over 5 clovers. So these ratios are proportional again, so they should simplify to the same value. So 3 goes into 9 3 times, 1 dividing, and 5 goes into 15 3 times, 1 dividing. So both of these ratios will equal 3 over 1. So 3 petals for 1 clover. So we can circle A. So moving on to the next portion, write each decimal as a percent. So when you see the word percent, you want to think of out of 100 because the word cent means 100. So a certain number out of 100. That's all a percent is. So what you want to do for these types of questions is set the decimal, the given decimal, which is 0.85 in this case, over 1, equal to a fraction where the numerator is x, as this value is unknown. This is what we're looking for, the percent value, over 100. So we just want to cross multiply this proportional relationship. So 1 times x is going to be equal to x. 0.85 times 100 is going to be equal to 85. And you can do this by, you could do this quickly by simply moving the decimal point however many places to the right as there are zeros in what you in the value you are multiplying the decimal by. So for example, we are multiplying 0.85 by 100 in this question, and 100 has 2 zeros. So you want to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and that will equal 85, which makes sense because 0.85 times 100 is 85. However, don't forget to add the percent sign at the end because um, 85 does not equal 85%. 0.85 does equal 85%. Um, so let's go over one more. Number 2. So we actually don't need to do this like setting everything as a proportion, because when cross multiplying, we know 1 times x is always going to be equal to x. And we also know that the value we are multiplying our decimal by to give a percent is always going to be 100. So we just want to set the decimal, the given decimal, in this case 0.92, and multiply it by 100. So using the shortcut of moving the decimal point 2 places to the right when multiplying it by 100, because remember it has 2 zeros, 0.92 becomes 92, and then add the percent sign, and 0.92 becomes 92%. And let's go over number 4 as well. So this one might be a little bit weirder because instead of having 2 decimal places, it's going to have 3. But the same rules apply. So when multiplying it by 100, just again move the decimal point 2 places to the right. And so digit 9 is still going to be a decimal in our percent. So 0.899 as a percent would equal 89.9%. Moving on to the next portion. So you want to write the decimal as a fraction. So for number 1, set the given decimal over 1, because remember any number divided by 1 equals itself, so setting it over 1 is not going to change the value. And then to get rid of the decimal point, we want to multiply both the top and bottom by 100. And the reason why we're multiplying both the top and bottom is because 100 over 100 simply equals 1. So multiplying this value by 0.85 over 1 is again not going to change the value, which is what we want to do. We don't want to be changing the value because that would be the wrong answer. So um, after multiplying 0.85 by 100, just move the decimal point 2 places to the right again to make it 85 and multiply the denominator 1 by 100. So the resulting fraction is going to be 85 over 100. But remember, we need to simplify the fraction, and this is not simplified because we can take 5 out of both 85 and 100. So when simplifying, you want to just factor out the greatest common factor, and in this case, it would be 5. So 85 divided by 5 will equal 17, and 100 divided by 5 will equal 20. So this fraction cannot be simplified any further, so this is as simplified as it gets. Let's look at number 2 as well. So again, we want to set the given number 1.25 over 1. So again, setting it over the denominator of 1 will not change the value of 1.25. Multiply it by 100 over 100 to get rid of the decimal without changing the value. It's going to equal the fraction 125 over 100. Divide both the top and bottom by the greatest common factor to simplify it into the lowest terms. In this case, the greatest common factor for both 125 and 100 is going to be 25. So 125 divided by 25 is 5, and 100 divided by 25 is going to be 4 on the denominator. So 5 over 4 is as simplified as it gets, as you can't take out more than any value more than 1 from both 5 and 4. And so lastly, let's cover number 7. So we just want to go over the same processes again. 0.99 over 1, set it over 1, times 100 over 100 to not change the value again. So move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which will uh, we will end up with 99 as the numerator and 1 times 100. So we will end up as one with 100 on the denominator. So 99 over 100 is the fraction we get. And for this particular value, we actually don't have a greatest common factor besides 1. So we can't take any value that is equal to more than 1 from both the top and the bottom. So we just leave it as is. And yeah, that's all for today.